2020.
Good God, what didn't happen?
The year where World War III almost happened. Australia was set on fire, only to be doused by floods. A pandemic spread, and that was only January. Remember that time a gender reveal party made it look like someone opened a portal to hell? That was weird. Or how there were 2 instances of aliens being a real possibility and no one cared. This last year was so strange and jam-packed that I was honestly waiting for 2020 to hit us with some kind of apocalypse at the last second. My money was on either giant meteor or alien invasion. But at least Smash Brothers didn't have anything weird going on around it. God damn it.
We couldn't have nice things in 2020.
Well, on the bright side, we got a bunch of good games to distract us from the fact the world was practically on fire. However, due to circumstances beyond my control, I didn't really have much money to spend this year, so I actually played a bunch of old games I'd been meaning to get to. I didn't play a ton of new games last year, so I'm doing the video a bit differently this year. Instead of ranking the games I played this year and probably padding out with remakes and Persona 5 Royal, I'm just talking about any ones I really enjoyed and about the order I played them in, with some old games and remakes mixed in there. Alright, let's pretend that the world was completely fine for 20 minutes. So here's a bad start. I didn't get anything new until March. I got Tokyo Mirage Sessions on Switch, which I already played on Wii U, and still haven't gone around and actually playing the Switch version. Also, please play this game. There was the Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection, full of great games I already played, and Mega Man Zero 1. That one isn't very good. But in March, I finally played a new game. Animal Crossing New Horizons. And because I had nothing better to do over spring break, that basically was my spring break. And man, what a game to come out this year. You just chill with some cute animal villagers and collect everything in sight. This game pretty much became the quarantine game. Everyone can just hang out with their friends in a virtual island where disease does not exist. Except when a villager somehow gets a cold or something. Seriously, there's like 20 people on this island max. Where did this thing come from? Instead of hanging out in real life, you can just hang out with your friends in Animal Crossing. You know, I think I actually prefer this. The game itself, I ended up not really caring about that much. It was more for the social experience this time. Everyone was playing this instead of interacting with the outside world because I don't need to explain why. Unless you were the kind of person that thought this whole situation was a hoax, in which case you're an asshole. I dropped Animal Crossing by like May or so. If there's no real end goal, I tend to get bored no matter what game it is. It's not really a game that keeps my attention for too long, but apparently it does for my sister because she's put like 400 hours into New Horizons. She's actually playing a real video game other than Pokemon. I'm proud of her. Okay, before we get to more new games, it's time for the Remake and Remaster lightning round. Why did so many of these come out around the same time? Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection. I had a lot of fun revisiting these games. I didn't even struggle with them like I did initially. It was just a flow that feels super good once you get into them. They'll kick your ass, but it'll feel good while they do, and that's probably someone's fetish. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. I played the hell out of Blue Rescue Team back in the day, so much that I'm pretty sure I played the main story all in one day at once. It's basically a Pokemon roguelite with a story that's actually good. There's a lot of nice improvements, but it's definitely a different experience from the original given how much easier it is now. I wasn't actually that into this one, and I was thinking that I just grew out of Mystery Dungeon, but then I started replaying Explorers of Sky and it's like, damn, I really need to get back to playing this one. Black Mesa, because if Valve isn't gonna remake Half-Life, the fans might as well. And Valve even let them sell it too. If you didn't like the original Half-Life, Black Mesa modernizes it to the point where it looks and feels like a new game. My only big issue is how the Zen sections kinda go on for too long, but at least it's not as annoying as the original Zen was. Persona 5 Royal, I have another excuse to talk about this game. I spent like 3 weeks practically marathoning this game when I probably should have been focusing on school, and I have no regrets because I still got good grades somehow. While it requires you to play the first 90 hours to get to it, the new content in Royal was a big highlight, and the new villain is so morally gray he borders on good guy. I love it. Also, Sumi must be protected at all costs. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Another one of my favorite RPGs, except now it looks straight up beautiful. How did I put up with the Wii version? This just looks cursed now. Added a bunch of quality of life improvements, and it makes me question if I should just throw out the original because it's completely worthless at this point. Scratch that, the disc art is perfect. And the save icon too. But otherwise, the Switch version is a gift from the heavens. In fact, I had such a blast revisiting this that I also ended up replaying Xenoblade 2. What was my free time this year? Please play Xenoblade. Super Mario 3D All-Stars. I've never had such mixed feelings about a re-release for such fantastic games. Like, these are technically the best official releases of these games, but the collection feels so slapped together, and it's still $60 and lacks Galaxy 2 for some reason. I did have a great time replaying these games, but if it wasn't for the fact that the game is needlessly limited time only, I probably wouldn't have even bought it this year. Yeah, a limited time only release in the middle of a pandemic wasn't the best idea. I mean, really, Nintendo, screw off with this limited release garbage. It's still on your servers for people to re-download it, just let us buy it, you dicks. Really makes me glad that there's a PC port of Mario 64 now. Nintendo doesn't seem to care about its legacy, but fans clearly do. I played this instead of the All-Stars version, I have no shame. But I got more games for my birthday in May, so let's talk about those. Dreams is pretty much a game engine disguised as a game, and it is insanely impressive. I played the hell out of Little Big Planet back in the day, so I was hoping I'd play Dreams more, but the stuff people have made has been kinda not good. Like, there is good stuff here, but playing weird bootlegs people made is so much more entertaining. As weird as it sounds, playing bad Mario Kart, bad Persona, or bad Golden Sun never fails to surprise me. Dreams is an incredibly fitting name because it genuinely feels like a fever dream with the weird stuff people have made. And I could try making something myself, but I actually know how to program at this point, so I might as well just learn Unity or something. But hey, a bizarre game to give me a few hours of entertainment every now and then was good enough for me. Now it's time for the big boy video game, Doom Eternal. But I'll spare you the fact that I can't pronounce Eternal to save my life, so I'm calling it Doom 5 instead. It took me a while to get into Doom 4, but the instant I played it with a mouse and keyboard, it just clicked and I was having a blast. So for Doom 5, how about we fix every single issue that game had? Run out of ammo? Chainsaw with recharging fuel. The pistol's useless? Let's just get rid of it. Too slow for you? Now you can dash. The environments were too samey? Hell is fusing with the earth. How about we add some parkour too, just to make you feel like a badass? Oh, and now you have a grappling hook. Have fun. I think I maybe like the level design of Doom 4 slightly more, but 5 is more than a worthy successor with some weirdly great music. Too bad they treated the composer not so great. Seriously, man, this is a good-ass video game, and it was my game of the year for most of the year. It honestly felt kind of weird that it was my game of the year for that long, because I loved it, don't get me wrong, but I feel like that if it was released any other year, it wouldn't have been. And I was right, because I just got 2 games for Christmas that I ended up liking more, which I'll get into later. It's not even recency bias either, I just genuinely like them more. We can talk about Ori and the Will of the Wisps first, though. Good god, man, this is a pretty game. Yeah, there's more graphically intensive games out there, but the art direction is just so good. But aside from the game just looking good, it also plays good. It feels great to move around in this game. From all the bashing and grappling and dashing and jumping, landing feels like such a killjoy at times. The combat is better than Blind Forest too. From what I remember, it was mainly just this orb around you that shot enemies, but you have a sword thing now, which just feels more satisfying. Will of the Wisps is a really good Metroidvania, and it's even on Switch now, which is pretty neat. It's really weird to have a Switch game that says Xbox Game Studios, I'm not gonna lie. From there, I actually found myself playing a bunch of older games I had lying around, because if I don't have much money and want to play video games, what else am I gonna do? That nasty habit of buying games and never playing them finally paid off. Bug Fables. We never got a true successor to Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, and this is probably better than anything Nintendo could have came up with. Seriously, Bug Fables doesn't just take inspiration from classic Paper Mario, it surpasses it. Combine that with great characters, music, lore, and enjoyably hard difficulty, and it's like falling in love all over again. It's so good. I missed these games. Apparently nostalgia has nothing to do with preferring the first 2 Paper Mario games, and it turns out that style was just a much more enjoyable formula to me regardless of the direction the series went. Who would have thought? Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Ike yells at people for being racist, the video game. And also the game itself is really good and features likable characters and an enjoyable story and all that stuff. Pro tip, don't be racist or Ike will come after you, as soon as the enemy turn finishes. That's probably my only big issue with it. You can turn off animations, but good god, how can anyone sit through these slow-ass battle animations? Enemy turns can last up to 10 minutes at points. Totally worth playing otherwise, though. I really need to play Radiant Dawn now. But wait, this game goes for nearly $200 online. How did you manage to scrounge up the extra cash to legally purchase a copy of this game? Luigi's Mansion. I never actually played the original game that everyone seems to cream their pants over, and it turns out that I really like it. I love the spooky atmosphere and the skill it takes to actually suck up ghosts. It feels like one of those games that's better the more you play it though, so I'll probably have to pick it up again sometime. The backtracking got a little annoying at points, but that's my only real complaint. I tried playing Luigi's Mansion 3 again, and honestly, it felt kind of brain dead and boring by comparison, despite how pretty and high effort it looks. I actually feel kind of bad about not liking this one. Not so much Dark Moon though. Halo 1 through 3. I played Reach last year when it came out on PC, and it was pretty good. I then played 1 through 3 this year, also on PC. Although I technically first played 3 years ago on 360, but I hadn't finished it before now, so maybe it counts? I don't know. Halo 1 is kind of rough around the edges at points, but it holds up surprisingly well. But they go kind of overboard, showing how much of a threat the Flood is. I died in this stupid ship like 20 times. I think I got the point. Halo 2 is probably the least favorite out of the games I've played so far. I love the dual protagonists and seeing the Arbiter slowly turning against his own race of warmongering maniacs, but I don't like how wonky the difficulty is, and it's way longer than the other games. It kinda overstayed its welcome for me. But now that I've played Halo 3 in full, this is a damn good game. Wow, man, I could have seen myself replaying this a bunch if I had 360 in 2007. And you know, wasn't 9 at the time. Halo is pretty good, I gotta say. Looking forward to Infinite. I don't see how people think the graphics look bad. Still need to play ODST in 4 though. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Yes, you just heard me. Despite how much I love Metroid, I had never played the Vania part of Metroidvania, at least not more than 10 minutes. And it's got all the stuff I love about this genre. Cool abilities, great exploration, awesome music. Good god, what was Konami on in the 90s, and why don't they make games anymore? Then I watched a speedrun, and it was like they were playing a completely different game for me. Whoa, 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 what's this wing smash you speak of? I had so much fun in this one, and then I figured I'd try out Castlevania 4 as well. It's alright. Among Us. Despite gaining popularity this year, it actually came out in 2018. That's so weird, man. It just got popular out of seemingly nowhere 2 years after it came out. When's the last time something like that happened? Among Us isn't really about the game itself, it's about playing it with other people. Just walking around, doing tasks, and trying not to get murdered is alright, but it's the mind games that come trying to figure out who the imposter is that feel so unique and satisfying. You're in a constant state of paranoia that fuels this desire to figure out who the imposter is. And if you're the imposter, it is the best feeling in the world to lie your way into murdering all your friends, and just as funny to fail spectacularly. The World Ends With You. By some divine miracle, a sequel got announced for this game. I had the Switch version lying around almost unplayed, so I figured I'd try it out. And good god, how have I been sleeping on this so hard? I have an actual game of the year, but no, this is the best game I played in 2020, regardless of the original release year. The combat is definitely weird to get used to, but once you do, it's really satisfying. They apparently had to change the combat a lot for the Switch version, but it's enjoyable to me for what it is. It's really satisfying to hack and slash everything and combo into attacks with your partner. Even when I accidentally used a pin when I didn't mean to, the game's lenient enough to where it was never an issue. I love the story too. While it can be pretty predictable, it's this really cool and unique premise where everyone is players in some games where they die if they lose. The characters really carry it. You slowly see Neku go from this reclusive asshole to someone who cares deeply for his friends. It's so wholesome, man. You know, aside from all the death and stuff. I love how nice the artwork is, too. The scaling can be kinda weird sometimes, but this game just looks nice, dude. And that soundtrack, frickin' S tier. How is every track in this game a total banger? It borders on illegal. I didn't want to put this game down once I picked it up. Please play The World Ends With You and watch the trailer from Neo like 20 times. I had to play the game with my Switch on the floor to get a good Joy-Con signal, and it was completely worth it. If I had The World Ends With You on DS back in the day, I have little doubt it would have been one of those games I played so much I got sick of it. Good god, man, please bring more math puns in the next game. But there's still one more game I played before Christmas. Around August-ish, I was really wondering when that big holiday game was gonna be for me. You know what I'm talking about, a game you're really excited for and is coming out late October or November. There kinda wasn't one for me until they were like, hey guys, the new Hyrule Warriors is coming out in 2 months and it's a prequel to Breath of the Wild. Oh my god, yes. Inject this directly into my veins, thank you. I love the first Hyrule Warriors, so I was pumped for this one, especially the premise of it. It's a game where you see the events leading up to the rise of Calamity Ganon and how Hyrule got to the way it is in Breath of the Wild. You get to know all these characters better and watch they all die horrible, painful deaths, hell yeah, dude. So, Yeah, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. What a disappointment. I'm not going into spoiler territory with this video, but the story of this game isn't quite what anyone expected. Because you know how Link fails to stop the Calamity and leaves everyone in a post-apocalyptic Hyrule for 100 years? Yeah, that's not how this goes. I'm not gonna be that guy that calls it false advertising, but I kinda would've preferred what we didn't get. And to be fair, I did somewhat enjoy the story, but it felt like dumb fanfiction at points, and not in the good way like the first game. The general course of events after a certain point in Age of Calamity just felt stupid, and I stopped caring about what was going on, which made the gameplay feel like more of a chore. They did not balance the level curve of the game very well. If you want to stay the recommended level for each chapter, you have to do side missions a lot of the time. And it's just the standard Warriors mission mode, except I felt more or less forced to do a lot of them, and highlights how repetitive the gameplay gets. In the 20 hours it took me to finish Age of Calamity, it felt like half of that was just doing random side stuff that I wanted to ignore and get on with the story chapters. The game felt like such a slog by the end that I was actually glad it was over. And that's frustrating because I like the general gameplay and it has a lot of fun characters to play as, but when I no longer care about the weird story direction, it's much harder to get caught up in the Musu power trip. It's still a good game, but I ended up enjoying Fire Emblem Warriors more, which is shocking to say the least. I didn't get very many new games this year, but around Christmas, it was a gosh dang explosion of new stuff. Game Pass was on sale, so I've got until late May to play all of this. Wish me luck. So now it's time for the games I played around Christmas bonus round. Katana Zero. So imagine yourself playing as a modern-day samurai with some time-slowing powers and some fast-paced action game. Yeah, that's Katana Zero. This game just feels awesome to play, and taking down every guy in the room almost feels like a puzzle at times. And while you can slow down time to make things easier for yourself, everything can be done in real time. By the end of the game, I was getting good enough at it that I was hardly ever slowing down, which just made everything even more satisfying to pull off. Wrap it all up in some pixel-based vaporwave aesthetic, and it's just so good, man. Fun fact, when uninstalling a game from Game Pass, it also deletes your save data. I moved KZ from my hard drive to SSD and learned that the hard way, because for some reason the Game Pass version doesn't have cloud saves. So to play the final level, I had to replay the whole damn game. But I loved playing Katana Zero so much that I didn't care and got back to where I was in like 2 settings, and now I'm tempted to play it again. How is this game so fun? Hades! Zagreus, the son of Hades, has some daddy issues, so he decides to escape from the underworld. And not very well, I may add. I've never really been into roguelikes. There's just something about having to start over every time, more or less, that just leaves me feeling unsatisfied. But I really like how Hades assumes you won't be winning on your first attempt and instead gives you upgrades to make your subsequent runs far easier, even sprinkling in story and character interactions in between runs to keep you interested. The actual gameplay is fun though. Never really played a Supergiant game before. I played Transistor a bit when I got my PS4, but maybe like an hour? I don't really remember it. I'm only like 3 hours into Hades, otherwise I'd say more. Honestly, I kinda bought the game solely to support the developers. Crunch in the game industry seems to not be going away anytime soon due to corporate overlords, but Supergiant seems to have this work-life balance thing figured out. That's awesome. Monster Sanctuary. This game is basically some weird fusion between Metroid and Pokemon. Clearly this game was made specifically for me. I haven't played the game too much so far, and it's really easy when I've played of the first area, but I'm really looking forward to where it goes. You have a dad in this game. They clearly have their priorities straight. Crash 4. It's about time, man. I'm unoriginal. Anyway, it's the classic Crash formula back and just as good as ever. It doesn't take long to get hard either. It was starting to kick my ass after a few stages. Thank God you have infinite lives this time. And to think it gets even harder when you try to 100% it. I've only played like the first 2 worlds and I can already tell that no sane human being should ever try to 100% this game. They make sure you get your $60 worth, but man, don't try this at home, kiddos. Paper Mario the Origami King. Actually, I haven't played this one yet, but I have it. I'm sure I'll play it eventually. Let me just put it on my unopened copies of Paper Mario pile. I'm bringing special attention to 2 games I got for Christmas, because they ended up being my number 2 and number 1 games of 2020, which I wasn't expecting. So first up, Spider-Man Miles Morales. PlayStation 5 was a myth, so I had to play it on PS4 like a peasant. Not that it mattered much. I have a few friends that are waiting to get a PS5 before playing this, and it's like, it also comes with the PS5 version and plays basically the same as the first game. It's a blast, what are you waiting for? I didn't make a favorite games of 2018 because I happen to talk about most of the games I played that year at length already, except Octopath, God of War, and Spider-Man. Spider-Man PS4 is easily my number 2 from that year behind Smash Ultimate, which wasn't surprising to me in the slightest. I love me some Spider-Man. I wasn't expecting to like Miles Morales as much as the first game because it kinda looked like standalone DLC made to show off PS5 hardware, but I ended up liking it more because it's the same gameplay but without any filler. It's about half the length of the first game, but I enjoyed all of it this time. The story is honestly pretty basic and mostly predictable, but it focuses on a single villain this time that feels more fleshed out overall than most of the first game's villains. I really liked seeing Miles slowly gaining confidence in himself and actually being able to hold out entirely on his own by the end. And it doesn't have any of those dumb MJ stealth sections, thank God. I actually like playing as Spider-Man, thanks. The game isn't perfect though, mainly just that they throw a little too many enemies at you sometimes, and Miles' camo just melts the stealth mechanics. But I got more of Insomniac's take on Spider-Man, and that's all I really wanted. You know the movement's awesome when I actively choose not to fast travel. After all the stuff I played this year, I still have one more PS4 exclusive to talk about. I would have played it day one when it came out in the summer, but, you know, not much spending money. It was easily my favorite game from 2020 and totally deserving of all the praise it's getting. Ghost of Tsushima. You guys already know how much I love Sly Cooper, or maybe you don't, but I unsurprisingly love Sucker Punch's other games. If you ever wanted a game where you wandered around a fictional feudal Japan as a samurai, this is just about the best one we'll ever get. The swordplay isn't quite hack and slashy either. There's some skill involved in learning how to combat enemies and when to strike, especially on bosses. I mean, yeah, it's pretty button mashy once you get good at it, but it almost feels earned because of how quickly you can die. Alternatively, you can just stealth around and kill everyone without being seen. Like, good God, man, you seeing this stuff? Jin has kunai, smoke bombs, poison darts. Dude, I thought you were supposed to be a samurai, not a ninja. There's this duality to gameplay between stealth and swordplay, which are both equally viable. You want to walk in through the front door, swords blazing without a second thought? No one's stopping you. Want to play a stealth game where you never attack head on? You can do that too. For how fun the swordplay is though, I often went with stealth options just because of how fun it is to slowly take out my enemies one by one without them even knowing I'm there. That and the AI can be kinda stupid at times. Not that it's hard to believe that random Mongol grunts aren't very smart. The open world is pretty empty though. I didn't really have much reason to explore or do anything in between tales, but it's such a blast to go through the main story and even most side quests that it's not an issue, especially with how pretty the environments are. Seriously, this is last gen hardware. I really enjoyed the story too. It starts off with Jin just wanting to free his uncle and rid the Mongolian invaders from Tsushima, but by the end it becomes more about defying tradition and making the right decision no matter how hard it is. I didn't get quite as emotional as others, except like one scene, but it really says a lot when you stand in the final decision for 10 minutes trying to decide what to do. And Ghost is one of few games where I like both endings equally. There's no right ending, and they're both entirely in character, which is really impressive. What a way to end off PlayStation 4. And now, a moment of silence for the games I wanted to play but didn't get to for one reason or another. Resident Evil 3 Remake, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, Astrobot's Playroom, Shantae and the Seven Sirens, Fall Guys, Half-Life Alyx, Risk of Rain 2, Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, Hylix 2, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Cyberpunk 2077. What a year though, at least for video games. In terms of real life, it was awful, and I lucked out because I mainly got to sit around my house most of the time. I've got a few friends who had it real rough this year, either getting sick or having to deal with crappy living situations, so I'm really grateful I was never in any physical or mental danger. The worst that happened to me was losing a crappy part-time retail job, and I only have one more semester of college left, so that's not really a bad thing. But honestly, this whole world situation is awful all around. In times like these, the most we can do is try our best to make tomorrow a little better. You know, learn something new, meet some new friends, online probably, but you know what I mean. Get in better shape, just whatever we can to make this awful situation a little more comfortable. If we all stay safe now, then hopefully 2021 can be a little better. Hopefully. This has been Flame Guy, and really, take care everyone. I'll see you all next mission.